Hello, I'm Hannah, and in this video, I'm going to take you through the VAT Summary report on Scribe. VAT Summary report is found under VAT in the menu, so regardless of whether you're VAT registered or not, you will still see the VAT Summary. You may see other menu options. These are the ones that you will see if you're not VAT registered, but the VAT Summary is still the same. So if we click into the VAT Summary, it will load as it has done there. So this is where we're coming to check our VAT position. So we can check what Scribe is calculating our VAT position should be at any point in the financial year. And obviously this is really important to make sure it's correct at the end of the financial year. So at the 31st of March, your closing VAT position, so this figure at the bottom, should represent the amount of VAT that you have claimed at the 31st of March or on the return or are due to claim at this point. It is particularly important if you are an income and expenditure user because Scribe will automatically enter a VAT adjustment based on this figure, so you must make sure it's correct. For any other user, it is a useful check to make sure that you are recording your VAT entries correctly and that you've reclaimed everything that you should have done. So to take you through all the different elements that you're seeing within the VAT summary, we'll work through each one in turn. Now, when we run the report, it will run as at today's date. If you want to amend that, you can just go to filter and select the date you're working to. So often you're going to want to check it at a certain month end date. So if you're VAT registered and you've submitted a return, you can check it's in line at that return date. Or if you're about to do a claim to an end of a calendar month, which is what you do have to do, if doing it via Form 126, it needs to be for complete calendar months. Again, you can check that in here. Once you get to the nearing the year end, then obviously you'd want to check the position as at the 31st of March, because that's the important time period. So any date that you enter, you can just click View Report and it'll update the figures accordingly. But firstly, though, we need to check what we've got in here looks correct. So our brought forward figure at the top is the amount of VAT that relates to the prior financial year. So the 31st of March of the prior financial year, this is our brought forward figure representing how much VAT we were due to receive for that period of that time. Either we'd claimed it or submitted on a return, and we'd be due to claim it at this point. If that's not appearing, then you need to make sure that you've added it in. Either that will be because you're a new Scribe user and you haven't entered it as an opening balance, or if you had Scribe for last year, you haven't copied over that figure from the closing balance to become the opening balance. So to resolve that, if you're a new user, you need to go to Setup in the menu and go to Bank Balances. Within bank balances, you will also have VAT, and obviously not a bank balance as such, but this is where you need to enter that opening balance. So you click into VAT, and there's that figure that we saw in the report. So this is the amount of VAT, as we said, that's claimed at the 31st of March or due to be claimed at this point. And if it's owed back to you, it goes in as a negative figure. So with that minus sign at the front, as you can see there. So this is the amount of VAT that was owed to my council at the 31st of March 2024, and therefore is becoming the opening balance. So if you're new to Scribe, you would enter that as part of your opening balances that you need to set up. If you had Scribe last year, then Scribe will have calculated your closing VAT position for last year, and you just need to make sure you've brought it forward. So again, to do that, set up, but this time bring forward balances. You just need to click VAT and copy, and it will bring it through. So we return to our VAT summary. So that will then update that figure, as you can see. Then any receipts of VAT will appear against the receipts line. If you're not VAT registered, this should only be receipts of VAT. So where you've done a reclaim and you've received the VAT back. So as you can see, those two figures match. In my very simple example, my opening position has since been reclaimed and I've received that VAT. If you're VAT registered, then obviously any other VAT that you're incurring, so on invoices you're raising, that will include in there. So it doesn't have to be that these two figures net off, particularly if you're VAT registered, or again, if you've done another claim within the financial year. So this one relates to our brought forward figure from last year, but if I've done a subsequent claim, say for the first quarter, and I've had that, that will then also show in here. If, however, you think that this is incorrect, either because it's zero, but you know you've had a VAT reclaim, or there's a figure that you're not expecting, you would need to go and have a look at your receipt entries. So they're under transactions and receipts. At the top there, you can see that's my VAT reclaim. To make sure that it appears in there, you need to have added it in correctly. So if we click into that, we can see how that would be done. So a VAT receipt So as you can see, VAT reclaim from HMRC. It does not have to have a specific VAT code, but often many users do have one. In this example, I've just put it to sundry income. The key element of this is that we've put it to our refund. And by selecting that VAT type, it will not allow us to type in the net field and instead show the full amount here in the VAT field. So this is the amount of VAT that we've had back. It's just a VAT transaction and therefore it's in the VAT field. And that is what means it then feeds into the VAT summary. So it's very important that reclaims of VAT, either because you've been paid for Form 126 or you've done a VAT return and received it back from HMRC, you need to make sure you're using our refund. So we can save that entry. You can also sort by the VAT column as well if you want to see all the VAT that you've had. In this scenario, this is only the VAT entry, which would be correct if I'm not VAT registered. As I said, you may have VAT on transactions if you are VAT registered, and that's absolutely fine. However, if you're not VAT registered, it would not be correct to show VAT on any receipts. And so in that scenario, if you did have a scenario where you had maybe a credit note, an overpayment, a reimbursement from a supplier that has VAT on it, that should be a negative payment entry, not a receipt entry. Okay, so you do not want to show any VAT in your receipts other than VAT reclaims if you're not VAT registered. So if we again return to our VAT summary. So as we said, these two, in a nice simple example, net off. So that's as it should be for now, meaning that this is just our payments figure. So this is all the VAT that we've entered on our payments on Scribe and is pulling through to be the current VAT position. If we just update that to the end of the year, imagining that we were now checking our end of year position, we would expect to see VAT to reclaim of £1,302.77. If we are not VAT registered, that should match to our Form 126 report as I am here. If you are VAT registered, then it should match to your closing VAT return. So if you have a scenario where Q4 finishes on the 31st of March, which most of you, I hope it does, then your closing VAT position at the 31st of March should be equal to your Q4 box 5 figure. Okay, so you would again need to check that. If something's awry and doesn't look correct, you would need to go and have a look and see what's gone wrong. Remember that once a claim has been submitted, so if you've done a Form 126 reclaim, Scribe would not lock down the transactions like it does for a VAT registered user, and therefore you could potentially amend something, add something in. So it's really important to make sure that you keep a copy of what you've reclaimed and be very mindful of changing anything that you've included in a VAT period. Same for VAT registered users. Before submitting your return, we would strongly recommend that you do a bank reconciliation to the return and date period, because that will help you in finding any transactions that you may have missed or got incorrect that would then have an effect on the VAT, and also to check your VAT list report. So again, being mindful of potentially things that would need to change if you had to add a transaction to a time period that's been submitted, for example, could potentially have effect on your closing balance. So just so that we can check that looks correct, in this example, if I'm not VAT registered, if I run my VAT Form 126 here, there you can see if I did a claim as at today, if this was my year-end date, then everything would be correct because my closing VAT summary was the same as the amount of VAT that I'm about to reclaim. So do make sure that you run your VAT summary periodically throughout the year, ideally in line with when you're claiming or doing your returns, to make sure everything looks as it should. Do contact us if it is not correct and we can give you some pointers on how best to check that. But if you're well organised and make sure that you're reconciling, checking the VAT list and keeping good records of your VAT, then hopefully you should be fine. So thank you very much.